For a variety of different reasons, the last couple of weeks haven't exactly been friendly to the San Francisco Giants. It wasn't that long ago, June 13th, to be exact, that Casey Schmidt hits the grand slam off Yoshinobu Yamamoto. The Giants take the first of a three-game set against the Dodgers, and they end up in a first-place tie with Los Angeles in the NL West, with an opportunity to potentially win that series and end that series in first place in the National League West. And since then, even with the addition of three-time All-Star Rafael Devers, a lot of things just have not gone right for the Giants. They've lost Matt Chapman, they've lost Casey Schmidt to injury, they've lost Christian Kost in the injured list, which we'll get to in a moment. They've lost 12 of their last 16 games, including today's 8-2 loss. And it was exactly for that reason that the timing of today's announcement, the announcement that the Giants have exercised manager Bob Melvin's option for the 2026 season, it's for exactly all of those reasons that the timing of this announcement is so significant. And in making this decision now, President of Baseball Operations Buster Posey has effectively sent two different messages. The first being that he has confidence in both Melvin specifically as well as the coaching staff generally, and that vote of confidence is especially significant given kind of some of the things that have unfolded in recent weeks, which we'll get to in a moment. But the second part of that is that it's on the players to perform. And when we had an opportunity to talk with Posey about the decision to exercise Melvin's option for the 2026 season, that was essentially the message that he conveyed. And I'll read off one of the lengthier quotes that he had when speaking with beat reporters today. I think he's as prepared as anybody each and every day. I think his coaches are the same way. From my perspective, and also my perspective as a player, when you're going through a rough patch, there's a tendency to want to point the finger at the coaches. Ultimately, I believe we have great players. I still believe in that group of players, but it boils down to them needing to play better baseball. If anybody deserves any blame from the top, it should be on me. It shouldn't be on our manager or coaching staff. I'm the one who sets the roster. So I feel like with all those things considered, this is a good time for me to show my belief in Bob and his coaching staff. And we got into some of the injuries that the Giants have been dealing with. We got into the fact that, again, they've lost 12 of their last 16 games. The manager is always going to come under fire when the team is not performing well. And over these recent weeks, hitting coach Pat Burrell and third base coach Matt Williams have also drawn a lot of criticism for varying reasons. Whenever an offense is not performing well, as the Giants offense has not done in recent weeks, the hitting coach is always going to catch his share of flack. Since acquiring Devers in the 13 games leading into today, since acquiring Devers, the Giants have only scored 3.2 runs per game. I know we've always kind of used that benchmark as since Wilmer Flores hit 3 homers against the Athletics, that the offense has not been performing well. But this is a weeks-long issue that's more so a month-plus issue now. But in addition to Burrell, third base coach Matt Williams also drew a lot of criticism over the course of the last couple days because of those 2 sends that he had against the Miami Marlins, one of them being when he sent Rafael Devers home on a Elliot Ramos double that was hit down the left field line, the other being when Patrick Bailey lined a single to left field. Bottom of the 9th inning, the Giants potentially could win that game. He waves home Jung-Hoo Lee. Jung-Hoo gets thrown out at the plate. The Giants end up losing that game. And as I mentioned, as it kind of is alluded to in that quote, the decision to exercise Melvin's option isn't just a vote of confidence in Melvin himself, but in the coaching staff as a whole. And again, adding on to that point, another thing that Posey said during today's conversation with beat reporters is, putting my former player's hat on, I do think it's somewhat of a balancing act for a coach and a player at times. You want the coach to be prepared, but at the same time, you want there to be accountability for the player to understand that ultimately their career and their successes or failure comes down to one person, that's themselves. We want our coaches there to support our players, but to understand that they're not a crutch as well. And we talked to a couple players about the decision to exercise Melvin's option for 2026. We had the opportunity to talk to Logan Webb, in particular. Webb, of course, being one of the longest tenured players on this team, a team leader, an all-star, someone that finished second in Cy Young voting. And when he was asked about that line of thinking that it's on the players to perform better, he agreed. He said, at the end of the day, it's us players that go out there and throw the ball, catch the ball, hit the ball. The coaching staff is there to help out. These guys work their butts off every single day. They're the first here, they're the last to leave. When you're on a plane ride, you probably see us players in the back playing cards or watching movies or something. Those guys are up in the front scouting the next team. These guys put a ton of work in. At the end of the day, it's our jobs to go out there and be better and play better and ultimately win the game. And as far as the first 2 innings of tonight's game in particular, it did look like the Giants had the makings of a bounce back game, that they were playing a better brand of baseball compared to what they had been playing in recent days. They took a 2-0 lead in the top of the second inning. Willy Adames hit his 10th homer of the season, a solo homer. Patrick Bailey drove in a run with a ground out. Hayden Birdsong struck out 5 batters through the first 3 innings. And as manager Bob Melvin said after the game, this team came out with some of the best energy that they've had all year. And ultimately from the 4th inning onwards, the Giants played a completely different brand of baseball. As I mentioned earlier, they end up losing tonight's game 8-2. They dropped their 4th consecutive game. They've lost 7 of their last 8, 12 of their last 16. And the main area, or if you want to identify one area or one part of this game where it tangibly flipped, that kind of starts with Hayden Birdsong in the bottom of the 4th inning. Again, through those first 3 innings, struck out 5 batters. The only run he allowed was an unearned run, and we'll get to the 3 unearned runs that the Giants had in a moment. But Birdsong begins the bottom of the 4th inning by throwing 10 consecutive balls, just very uncompetitive misses. And then on the 11th pitch of the inning, Jake McCarthy hits a 3-run homer. The Diamondbacks have their little light show. They do the whole, I don't exactly know what their basketball celebration is, but they take a 4-2 lead. It's a lead that they'll never give up. They end up hitting 3 homers on the night. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. and James McCann hit back-to-back homers off Carson Seymour, and I believe the bottom of the 6th inning as well. But this is the 2nd consecutive start where Birdsong has really kind of inexplicably just lost his command in the middle of the game. Against the Miami Marlins, we talked about, had a bit of a rough start given some of the drama with the hit by pitch and how he hit Otto Lopez in the leg/thigh area with the pitch and how that kind of derailed the start of his outing. He kind of bounced back from there, but in the 5th inning of his game against the Marlins, walks 2 batters. His outing is over. He's now walked 4 batters in his last 2 starts, and his walk rate is up significantly over the last month. In April and May, I want to say it was 8.6. Now it's roughly at 11%. And when Birdsong was asked about what's kind of been going wrong with the walks in particular over the course of his last couple of starts, he said he just didn't know. He didn't have any tangible thing that he can point to. He didn't think it was mechanical, though he did concede that it could potentially be mechanical. He said his confidence was fine. The quote that he said was, "It's the same thing every single time. I don't know what it is. Almost feels like a force field. I don't know why. Same mindset. Arm feels good. Just got to find something. I don't know what it is, but we'll figure it out." So that was one part of the equation of tonight's loss. But then there was also the element of Patrick Bailey. And Bailey, as we've talked about, is one of the best defenders in all of baseball, one of the best framers in all of baseball, won his first Gold Glove last year, could potentially win more down the road. But tonight wasn't his best night receiving the ball. He had 2 pass balls that directly led to 3 unearned runs. In the bottom of the 3rd inning, I believe Geraldo Perdomo was up at the plate. He misses a very catchable curveball that allows Jay McCann to advance from 1st to 2nd, and then 2 pitches later, Perdomo lines a single just over the outstretched glove of second baseman Tyler Fitzgerald. That scores the Diamondbacks' first run of the game. But then there's an even more costly miscue in the bottom of the 5th. It's either the bottom of the 5th or it's the bottom of the 5th inning. Eugenio Suarez is up with 2 outs in the bottom of the 5th inning. The Giants are already losing 4-2. Carson Seymour strikes out Suarez with a sinker. Bailey's unable to catch it. He lunges for it, but then it deflects off of his foot. Rolls away. Suarez is able to scamper on to first, and the inning is able to continue on. And then the next batter's escaping me. But the next batter, I think it was Gurriel, who hits a 2-run homer, and then instead of a 4-2 deficit at the end of 6 innings or 5 innings, the Giants now have a 6-2 deficit at the end of however many innings it was. And again, given how poorly this offense has performed over the course of the last couple weeks, asking them to score 5 runs in order to win tonight's game is a very tall task. Another element of tonight's game was the fact that Wilmer Flores made his first appearance at third base since May 9th, 2024. He hadn't even taken grounders at the position at any point this year, but with Christian Koss going on the injured list, on the 10-day injured list with the left hamstring strain, with Matt Chapman already on the injured list, with Casey Schmitt already on the injured list, down 3 third basemen, Flores was one of their only really viable options at first base. They could have hypothetically gone with Brett Wisely, and Wisely will probably see some time at the hot corner over the course of this week, but today Melvin went with Flores at third base, went 1 for 4 at the plate. His only real assignment or task defensively was a pretty standard ground ball that he handled without much of a problem. I'm personally surprised that the Diamondbacks didn't try to bunt on him a lot, considering that Flores isn't exactly the most mobile of third basemen. I didn't know that Geraldo Perdomo did not pretend, but he did move as if he was going to lay down a bunt, but ultimately held back on the pitch. But that was the extent of the Diamondbacks attempting to do anything and exploit Flores' lack of mobility over at third base. As I mentioned, we're not going to see Flores in an everyday role at third base. The Giants have talked a lot over the course of the season about wanting to keep Flores healthy, and running him out at third base until either Chapman or Schmitt is healthy isn't the most sustainable thing in the world that they can do. We'll probably see Brett Wisely over there. As far as Rafael Devers, Posey did say that it's on the table that we see Devers at third base, but before that happens, Devers is going to need to get a completely clean bill of health, because in addition to the groin issue that he's been dealing with, manager Bob Melvin also said that he's been dealing with a little bit of a back ailment as well, something that we previously didn't know about. And when you kind of look at the timeline, Chapman is getting close to his return, could be during the 6-game homestand. Casey Schmitt's probably going to miss the minimum amount of games due to his left hand injury. It kind of looks like the Giants really won't need to get into a situation where Devers has to play third base, given that, again, whether it's Chapman or Schmitt, sometime in the next couple days, one of them is going to be available. And I think for the next couple days, they can just kind of ride out Flores and Wisely at third base and just kind of patch that together until, again, one of Chapman or Schmitt is healthy, and then go from there. And then they've handled the position for the time being. One more note from today's game is I alluded to the fan that reached over the left field fence and not exactly robbed Koss of a potential homer, but interfered with the play, very bluntly interfered with the play. And apparently this is something that this fan has done repeatedly over the course of the last couple years, so much so I think I saw he has like an Instagram account. He's done like media appearances, just a very, very odd sequence of events. But that fan has been banned from games, at least for the rest of this season. That fan can attend games in 2026 if he applies to the Diamondbacks' code of conduct.